All right, welcome. This is our fourth webinar on the Maven platform. Thank you for giving up some of your time to be here and just kind of learn about this. This is all brand new to everyone, even us. It's a learning process. We're pretty excited to share this platform with you and show you what it's capable of and how your kids can actually use this year. Before we get started, Mike mentioned this earlier, but we do have the chat open, and the other panelists that are here are going to be monitoring that. They may just quick respond to a question. They may interrupt me just so we can share if it's something that they think the group is, that the group would need to hear. So put those questions into that chat. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of introduce myself, and then the panelists will introduce themselves. I'm Josh Delmeter. I'm the eighth grade science teacher here at the middle school. I've been doing the Maven stuff since last spring. And I think really the longevity has made me the quote unquote guru. I'm not sure at this point if that's a good thing for me or not, but we just keep plugging away with that. And next, I'm just going to go right across my screen here. Next is Amanda Chichoke.
Hi, I'm Mandy Chuchoke, and I am a third grade Spanish immersion teacher at the elementary. So I can answer any PC or elementary questions. Betty Jo Breggy is not on here tonight, but she is also the other Maven go-to person if you're at the PC or elementary. And then if we don't know, we'll ask Josh.
Next is Gina.
Hi everyone, Gina Kotenko, middle school art. I joked earlier that I think I'm sort of Josh's emotional support and also Maven backup. So I'm trying to help out in our building and field questions from parents that are related to the middle school. That's all, thank you.
And then of course is Mike.
Mike Maximchuk. I'm one of the high school chemistry teachers, and I also teach physics and engineering. I'm the go-to person for the high school with any questions. So if there are specific questions, 9-12, hopefully I can answer those for you.
Awesome. Okay, great. So trying to stick to the agenda that we have here. The first thing that we want to talk about is why are we using Maven? First, it's important to note that we have over 500 students that are going to be using the virtual platform, which is pretty remarkable. So we needed to find a platform that was easy for us to use, had the kind of the resources that we wanted to have for it, and the biggest thing for us was Maven is a project, and the company that does this for us offers it as an in-kind donation, so it is free for us, and that is huge for us as a district. I can't quote how much some of these learning platforms would cost for us. I do know that at Ferris State University, they use Canvas, which is one of those platforms, and it costs the university over $1 million to use Canvas. Not that that would be how much we would have to use or pay, but it would still be a lot more than free. So that was probably one of the biggest things that we looked at. One of the things that Maven does for us is they can compress all of the data that we're sending out to our students, and you don't have to have a great internet service for your student to be able to use it. 2G is probably the lowest that you could go. A 2G phone with cell service should be able to use the platform and get the information, which is great because we all know in Newaygo County it's pretty hit and miss. Your neighbor might have great service and you might not have any, or they might have DSL and you have HughesNet. So that's great for us. It does allow us to use all of our different devices. We have our iPads and our Macs, and it is great now that we are one-to-one as a district. So every student will have a device. That device will have all of the tools that they'll need, the Google Chromes and stuff like that, so they can access all of the information we're putting out there. One of the things about Maven that's nice is it allows us to use some of the other platforms that teachers have. I keep saying this about Maven is it's like your task list for the day of what your student is supposed to do. And a lot of our teachers have done a great job of building things like Google Classroom up. And so your student will be able to check in on Maven, find out what they need to do for the day, and then they'll be able to go to a Google Classroom and do those assignments. So you might find that you may have an elementary school teacher or a student who's using just Maven, but then your middle school student may be using Maven plus Google Classroom, and it could be something else at the high school. But that initial first contact for the day with their teachers is going to be through Maven. And then the last point on this, on why we're using Maven, this is not some big box company that is providing the content for you. This is all prepared and delivered from your teachers here at GPS. It's all familiar faces. If you've had any experience with like a Khan Academy, those people, obviously they are teachers, but your student doesn't know them, and they don't know the content that you want your students to have. We have the complete control over what your student is getting and what's being delivered to them on a daily basis, and that is phenomenal. Your districts surrounding us that are providing online services from one of these will get content that company feels your student needs to have. So that's a huge advantage. And then last, this kind of goes back to the free thing. It's kind of maybe a bad thing for those of us here on the panel, but a great thing for you guys as parents. You don't have to call some company and ask for help. We are the help. We are the resources. So if you get stuck on something, or your student gets stuck on something and can't figure it out, you don't have to call a 1-800 number or talk to somebody that doesn't necessarily understand your situation. You're talking to your teachers. You're talking to your administrators, and those people are the ones that are going to help you with getting an answer. I miss anything there from the panel?
Nope, sounds good.
I think the one thing that's really an awesome bonus is that if a student was absent for a day, they're going to keep going with our same content. They're going to be with their same teachers. They're going to be able to stay up with it. If for some reason a student had to quarantine because they've been in contact with someone, they're going to keep up right with the same content. So there's a nice continuity of education, whether it's at home or in person.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Some of our surrounding districts that I won't name, if a student goes on quarantine, they will be virtual, and it will be different content than what their students are learning in class. And then when they come back from that, they will come back into the classroom where they haven't been there for 2 weeks, and it will be completely different than that. So it's like Mike said, that continuity of learning is super important to us, and making sure that your students are getting that same thing, whether they're here or they're at home. So one of the things that we wanted to relate to you today is how to get some help on this, because of it's going to happen where you get stuck on something, your student gets stuck. And most of the time you guys do a great job of calling the building, talking to a secretary, or reaching out to your teachers. And we really want to encourage that process still continues to happen. I think most of our teachers are comfortable enough to answer basic questions. If they don't know, what they will do is they will reach out to these building reps that are here. They've been working with me. They've been training on how to troubleshoot some of the stuff. And so that teacher will reach out to them. If they can't answer the question, they'll reach out to me. And then if I can't answer, I'll reach out to my resources and provide an answer for you. But we want to make sure that we're kind of funneling that through that channel, because all of us will still be in the classroom and teaching. And my email inbox right now is pretty full, and I can't imagine what that would look like on Monday if everybody emailed me questions or emailed these people questions. So, you know, they're on here and they're great resources, but just because they are on here, please don't just email them directly. Try to reach out to your students' teachers first before you reach out to one of these people. All right, so we're going to talk about, go ahead, Mike.
Just say, Mrs. Chuchoke, there's a question in the Q&A. I don't know if you want to answer that.
Sure.
It's just asking, kindergarten students doing remote learning haven't received their tablets yet. When can parents expect to get those and login information?
Yeah, actually the whole primary center does not have their tablets yet because so many schools are going to virtual learning and different types of learning. There's a backlog to order those tablets. So they have been ordered and we are in line to get them. As far as getting their login stuff, if you have your own device, I think you're going to go over that in a little bit, right, Josh? How to get to Skyward?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll go over, you can still log in even if you didn't get your iPad yet on your own device.
All right. So I think you're looking at my Maven Resources screen. Is that accurate? Or, oh, hold on here. There we go. All right, how's that? Maven Resources up there for everybody? Perfect. Okay. To kind of go along with that question, getting questions answered, we are building a resource page for you on our homepage. It is not there yet. We have the information to our web builders, and they're working to get that on for us. So this is kind of what that's going to look like for you. There will be a page that starts like this. So if you go to the gps.net website, there will be a link. That link is going to take you to this page. What we have here is just some general information from the Maven people about what it's about, and what the service is that they're providing for us, just for you to look through if you wanted. And then we also have some videos. I know some of our students like to watch some of the videos to learn about things and learn how the things are going to work on Maven. So we have these here for them. These are not made by people at GPS, but it still follows along with the type of things that they'll see when they get onto Maven. This next one is built by us. And if you're more of a checklist, or if you're more of a person who wants to kind of see that at their own pace, we've built these slide decks for you. And we're going to work through these, but they will be on the website, and you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to pull these up and look at how to do the things we're going to show you. So these will always be a resource. And I know some parents have reached out to me today from the other webinars because they want to get going right now, and I can share this stuff out with you if you want to have this information before it's on the actual website. The biggest question is how to log into Maven for the first time. Now, it's become pretty common for a website to ask you to log in with stuff like your Facebook login or your Google login, and that's no different from what Maven is asking now. Our students are going to log in with their Google information from school. This is going to be their school information. None of the stuff that they're going to be doing will be their personal information at all. It's all the school stuff. So they will come to this page right here, and then from here they're going to click this sign in with Google. And this is going to look a little different from their end because they're students and not teachers, but they'll get the same box right here where it says create a new account. They're going to click that little circle. They're going to hit submit, and that's it. It's as simple as that for them to log in.
Mr. D.
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt. Just one thing that some parents may not realize is that all students in our district do have a Google account and a Google email address that is managed by the school, grantps.net, so that it's monitored, filtered, et cetera, to keep our students safe. So you don't have to create an email for them. They don't need to use a parent email. They will have an assigned school email.
And I should say something else real quick, because this is what it's going to look like after their first time logging in, but I'll show you this real quick.
And some of, if you're an elementary or a primary center family, some of the teachers have went ahead and done the first step for your students. So they're already linked. So it'll just pop right up and it should say like, welcome to Scribe, and then it'll say Grant Elementary or Grant Primary Center. If that's what pops up first, that's why, because the teacher has already done that work for you. And then the one parent was asking about the kindergarten. You would have to call the office. You could call the office and get their student ID number and password. because we're handing out the login cards with the iPads, but they don't have those yet. So if you just call the office, you can get those.
Okay, great points. I just wanted to show you this real quick. So, and when we were looking at this slide deck, I said, click right here. For their first time on their own devices, it's probably going to ask them to log in. They're going to have to click on their name, or they're going to get to a spot where it's going to look something like this. So they'll have to put their information in. But from there on out, because it's their own personal school device, it's going to just click on here and it's going to take them right to that first home page, which is this one right here. So this is their home page. It's called Scribe. You can see right here where this person has logged in Grant Elementary School. So double check that with your student, make sure that they're logged into the correct building when they first get on. All right. Next, and this is going to be different for our building. So we'll talk about this from a middle school perspective, and then I'll have Mandy and Mike talk about what this looks like for their buildings. All of our students are going to need to enroll in their classes. And I think for the most part, I think high school and middle school wise, they're going to work on this in the classes on that very first day of school. But if you are a virtual student, this slide deck is super important for you, because you won't have us giving you those instructions. You'll get this piece of information on that first card, and you'll have to work through this process on your own. Same thing with we're logging in. Now there's two things up here. We call this the waffle. We call this the hamburger. I didn't make those up, but I love those names because I love food. And so I remember those very, very well. When your student logs in to enroll in a class, they're going to click right up here on this waffle. It's going to pop this little box up. We're going to click on Tyro Spot. And we're going to come over here to the hamburger. Notice that this is different now. This is no longer Scribe. This is Tyro Spot. Drop down menu, we're going to click Courses. Now, you will see the entire catalog of classes for the buildings. So this is all of the middle school's courses that are there. What your student will need to have is their schedule for the day. And they will go through and find their teachers for those things, and they will search in TyroSpot under courses for those teachers. So this student has Mrs. Zerlot as an 8th grade, for 8th grade math. So they would click on that. They'll come to this screen. They'll click on sections. That's going to take them to Mrs. Zerlot's specific hours. And from there, they would just pick the hour that they have her. So this is that specific class. Now they're going to choose enroll. So that's what the process will look like for a middle school student. Now, our students will not be able to enroll in classes until Monday. The enrollment date starts on 8/31. So if they try to do this today, they will see nothing here until Monday. And that's not going to be for everyone. For instance, if your student has me for a teacher, because I've been working on this and testing this, my enrollment date was Monday this week. So if they have me as a teacher, they could practice enrolling by going in and enrolling in my class. And I think that's the same for Mr. Maximchuk also. He might have that same thing. But I'm going to turn it over to him. I'm going to go back a couple slides, and he's going to walk through what that process would look like for a high school student.
So when you go to enroll, right now the screen, if you look at the courses for the middle school, it's by teacher. With the high school being a little different, we've got so many teachers teaching different classes, and also multiple teachers teaching the same class to be able to collaborate and work on the content together. When you click on the courses, it's going to say just whatever the class is: chemistry, algebra, PE, art, things like that. And so you're going to have to look at your Skyward schedule. From here, you'll click on, let's say, I'm going to use my class for example. You'll click on chemistry, click on chemistry. From there, all the different sections will show up. And there are 3 chemistry teachers. So there are going to be sections for Mr. Kluchkowski, Mr. Starr, and for myself, Mr. Maximchuk. So then you'll look to see who's your teacher, what hour do you have them. let's say you're in my 3rd hour chemistry class, you would then just click on Max and Chuck 3rd hour, and then you would enroll there. So it's just 2 different clicks. It should be pretty user-friendly. Just click on the course, and then from here, click on the section, find the section, and enroll in it.
All right. And it is going to look different for the PC students as well. And I'll let Mrs. Chichoke explain that process.
Yeah, in the primary center in the elementary, we are enrolling the students. You don't have to search for their teacher. So when you log in on the first day, their assignments, well, I should clarify, on the first day, their assignments might not be up yet because we haven't had all the students link their accounts to be able to get them going. Some teachers have got those all done. Some are still waiting on a few students. So check in on Monday. If it's not completely ready, check back in on Tuesday. It'll be ready for sure by then. And you don't have to find the classes.
Yeah, we are, there are quite a few students who are enrolling. And so as our new students enroll in the district, we have to go through the process to get them into Maven. And so that's kind of slowing down, especially at the PC with our kindergarten class growing as quickly as it is. So now your student has logged in, your student has enrolled in classes. So now they're ready for that daily content. And so this last slide deck right here is going to kind of work them through what to expect when they log into Maven. Again, the Scribe page is their home screen. And when they go in there, they're going to see these things that we keep calling them cards. Those cards could be an assignment. Those cards could be an announcement. Our building principals will probably put announcements out there. Our counselors will put announcements out there. Like for instance, Mrs. Zerlat with her yearbook, she may be putting announcements out there when yearbook starts so students know that it's time to maybe sign up for that stuff. Same thing with like a basketball tryout. We can put a lot of information out there for our students to see. So a basic card looks something like this. The title of the assignment will be here. This circle is an important tool for not just your student, but you as a parent. We've all fought with our students about bringing home their planners. What did you do in school? Did you do all of your work? This circle is a great visual for you to see what your student has to do and what your student has done and what your student hasn't completed and maybe late. These circles can be white, which means that's not even started yet. They may be yellow, which means I've started it, but I haven't finished it. They may be green, which means I'm done. And if they're gray, that means that the assignment has expired and your student can no longer complete it. They can still look at the card, they can still see the content, but they can't finish it and get points for it after that.
There was a great question that was in the Q&A. One of the parents had asked, what if our child misses a day or something like that? A little worried about that. So kind of jumping ahead just a little bit, but if your child is sick for a day, or if life happens and for some reason they're not able to complete the work, if a student does not log into Maven, it'll be an absence for the day in Skyward. However, all the teachers, and I think it's pretty district-wide, may not be totally standard, but fairly consistent, that it's a week that a student will have to complete the work. So let's say next Tuesday, I put out the assignment, and for some reason your child isn't able to do it, they'll have 1 week. So until the next Tuesday to get that work completed, and they'll still be able to complete it. They won't see that gray dot where they're locked out of being able to get those points. They'll still be able to do that content and get those assignments completed and turned in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And the biggest discussion around that was with all of our virtual learners, especially when we have families out there with maybe 3-4 students doing that, or parents who are working, just giving you guys the time to work through those assignments rather than have to rush to get your kids done with them. You know, especially if they're sharing times that they can be online. I know that's tough if you have a limited amount of internet access. Not everybody can download a video or watch something at the same time. So this is what a card will look like once they start it. And going back to that part about your teachers at Grant being in control of stuff, your teachers in Grant will all put a daily video that is specifically from them that talks to your students about what that work will be for the day. The video may be 30 seconds to a minute of time where they're just basically saying, hey, today you need to check into Google Classroom. You're going to be working on this. When you're finished, check back into Maven and make sure you answer the follow-up questions. It could be longer. We do a great job of looking for resources out there, but there may not be, for instance, a video that we can show the students for the day, or there may not be a slide deck out there that we can use to show the students what we want them to learn. So the teachers have been working really hard on making videos that show how to do the content or teach the actual content for your students. So this will kind of take the place, or could take the place, of a teacher standing in front of the class and describing to them how to do a math problem, let's say. From there, I like to think of this as like our whiteboards that we have in our classes, and all of our students that are on right now will recognize these things. All of us as teachers have to have a learning target posted on our board. And I love this for our parents. You don't ever see this. And unless you ask your student to write down everything in their planner, you never know what these are. But now, whether it's a virtual student or a face-to-face student, you can have them get onto their Maven, you can have them open up a card, and you can see what the exact skill or what the exact content that we expected them to learn for the day was. So no more of the, I don't know what I learned today. Oh, what'd you do in math? Well, we did math. You can actually see what that content was supposed to be. And then from there, this is the same as all of us, the kids will know this. We always post a daily agenda of what we're doing for the day. And so I just kind of listed some of the things here that you can expect to see in that agenda. You may see supplementary videos. You may see links to things. You know, our teachers now will have to be creative in how they're delivering things. For instance, if it's something in a science class, I've been going out and using like National Geographic as a resource and linking the students to that so they can read a article or watch a video from that site. And then the last part of this is our assessment piece. So a lot of our teachers do stuff at the end of a class to make sure that the students have learned, and it can be a variety of different ways. What Maven provides for us is this formative assessment. It's like a little exit ticket, and it's a one-question quiz that our students have to answer in relation to what the content was for the day. And I'm kind of getting ahead with the slide. So, so here would be the question, and then the student would pick, and it's 2 is the least amount. Most of us probably use about 4 questions, or 4 answers, excuse me, that the students have to pick from. They cannot complete the card without doing this. So when you see those yellow circles on your student's card, that means that they haven't actually completed the quiz. So here it shows that I submitted the correct answer and I was awarded the 3 possible points. Yeah, let me back up. So one neat thing for us as teachers is obviously it's checking it. If it's wrong, it's going to say incorrect answer, and that's going to force them to actually answer the question. They cannot complete this card without answering the question correctly. And the other thing that's kind of neat about it is it jumbles the order of the answers, because we all know that a student's going to come in and click the first one, incorrect, next one, incorrect, third one, incorrect. If they did that, they would actually be choosing, they could be choosing the same incorrect answer over and over because it jumbles those up. The last thing, it says feedback right here. I refer to it all the time as the feedback response question. This is a great snapshot. The quiz is a great snapshot for us, but the feedback response really kind of allows us to see in detail if a student understands the work for the day. And there are just a multitude of different ways that a student can answer this for us, and actually what the teacher is asking for. So when they're done with that question, the quiz question, this feedback response pops up. and they click this little box or this little circle right here. And now they have to answer in this box how the teacher is expecting them to respond. So for instance, maybe I ask a question like, what are the planets in the solar system? And so I might say right here, list your answers in the text or in the box. I might say, what are the planets in the solar system? And I might ask them to post a picture of each of them in here. So there's a lot of ways that the teachers can do this. I really like one of these features here, especially for like Mrs. Kotenko. It's the option to be able to put in a video, so your student could create a video of themselves doing their artwork, or a PE teacher could ask them to, they have a specific workout that they have to do for the day. They could say, hey, record part of this so that I know you're doing it, and send it that way. And even with our PC and our elementary teachers, they could say, I want to see you doing your writing assignment for the day, and you could video the writing assignment and then turn that in to the teacher. Once they're done with that feedback response, they submit it, close the card, and you can see now that that card is turned green. And this was what it would look like if there was a card that was not completed. And then there's the gray that shows that it's past due. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Maximchuk real quick to talk about asynchronous learning.
So if you've looked at anything online lately, you've probably heard that word asynchronous, which is quickly becoming a buzzword teachers don't want to hear. But all it means is instead of it being synchronized at the same time, you can do it whenever. And so the beautiful thing with Maven for our virtual learners, I know there was a question, is there a certain time we have to log in? The expectation is once a day. For each of your classes. So again, I teach in the high school, so I'm going to use the high school as an example. You have 6 classes in the high school. You need to check in with all 6 classes, which will be 6 individual cards every day. And if that's at 7 a.m., if that's at 8 a.m., if that's at 9 a.m., if it's at 10 p.m., if it's at 4 when your parents are home and they're able to help, that's fine, as long as it's every day. The biggest thing that I can recommend, and this doesn't matter if you're a kindergarten student, if you're a middle school student, elementary or high school, set up a routine and stick with it. People may not realize it. We like order, we like a routine. And just saying, yeah, I'll get to it whenever, it's not going to happen, and it's not going to, you're not going to set yourself up for success. So make a plan, today, tomorrow, over the weekend. If you're a virtual learner, here's what I would like to do. Here's our expectation. Here's the chunk of time. I'm going to start at 9:30 in the morning or at 8 or whatever you decide. And I'm going to spend this amount of time on school every day. And that means I'm not playing on my phone. I'm not listening to music. I'm not watching YouTube. I'm not doing chores or anything like that. That is your school time. Make sure you set that time aside so that way you're setting yourself up for success. A couple other questions people had earlier. Can we work ahead? So the teachers are trying to keep our online students as close or as synchronized, at least day to day, with our in-person and virtual students. And so the cards for the next day will be released at midnight. So you can maybe not work ahead, but you've got that week gap or that week window to be able to finish them. So as long as you check in, let's say it was a Friday, it's a beautiful day, you wanted to take the day your virtual learning, as long as you still check in with your teachers, look at your cards and answer their questions. If there's a bigger part of the assignment, like they gave you a project to do that day, if you wanted to wait, you could, because you'll have that week to get it in. However, the downside is then you're going to have additional work later, that following week. So you need to make sure you manage your workload appropriately. Again, like I said, at the high school, there's going to be 6 cards per class if you're taking all your classes at the high school. If a student is going to the Career Tech Center or dual enrolled, they will not have a Maven card for those classes. It's only for in-house teaching from Grant PS. Good question. How many hours a day are required? That is going to depend on your student, and that's going to depend on how fast they work and what the teacher has assigned. So some days it could be, I don't want to throw a number out there. It might be an hour or 2, 3. Some days it could be 5. But the beautiful thing is they can take a break with it being asynchronous. Students don't have to sit there and work for 5 solid hours. If they get burnt out after half hour, go take a break and then come back at it. So that's the nice thing. As far as how many hours, we don't know that. And then will the school kids, middle and high school, be using this? Yes. So in the high school at least, and I think middle school too, I don't want to misspeak, but at the high school that first week, we are going to teach all of the students how to use Maven. And then we're also using Google Classroom at the high school, so that after that first week, the kids know how to get on Maven, get on Google Classroom, check their email. The teachers in the high school are not going to say, okay, get on your Maven card and do your assignment, and then we're going to sit at our desk. That's not the way it's going to work. We're still going to teach the class. It's going to be the same content. So for instance, if I was teaching a lesson on nuclear decay, I would have a card for, I don't know why I keep sticking with chemistry, but I do. I would have a card for my online students on nuclear decay. It would be the same concepts, same content that they'd be able to work through. And then in class, I would be doing the same thing. And the nice thing is, and I think I'm kind of jumping ahead, but there will be an opportunity for students online to ask questions as well.
Yep.
I think I answered a couple of the questions.
Yeah.
Talking now.
And I'll jump in and talk about the primary center and elementary. They will also be using the Maven cards at school, so that everyone is getting the same content, but we will be working right alongside with them. So for example, I teach 3rd grade math. My students will sign into their Maven who are here at school, and then I might actually use my projector and project my lesson onto the board. So we're all kind of watching it together, and then we can stop, we can discuss it, we can do some practice problems together. So it's not just them staring at their individual screen all day, but they will still be working through the Maven cards and learning how to do a lot more technology stuff than they've learned in the past, like attaching videos, attaching photos, finding information in jumping from one platform to another. So they'll be learning right along with all of the big kids.
Yep. Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback on that from the middle school perspective, basically you're hearing the same stuff from us. The biggest difference with our virtual kids as compared to our face-to-face kids is going to be this. We've all grown to kind of have this intuition when it comes to our students and how they're doing on stuff. And so, for instance, if we're in the middle of class and a lesson is not going well, we have that intuition to say, okay, I got to stop. They're not understanding. Let's back it up and let's go through something again, so that way the whole class can get that. And so that's going to happen. There are going to be days that we're going to put cards out and the students are going to not understand the concept, and we'll be able to stop and we'll be able to say, hey, let's go through this again. And the hope is, we would have to be able to find a way to share that out with our virtual kids as well. Some of us have talked about using like a Zoom meeting where it's open for our students to come in. And I know I'm going to turn it over here to Mrs. Kotenko here shortly. She's going to talk about our office hours, but there will be opportunities for our virtual learners to kind of get that with the teacher. So if, for instance, if I worked and stopped our students during class of the day because the lesson didn't go the way that I thought it would, I'd be able to help the virtual students during the office hours and say that to them. Hey, we didn't get through this. This is why. Let me kind of reteach you that kind of stuff with that. So
yeah. We had a question about resource, and this came up in our last session too. So in the primary center and elementary, your students who get resource room will get everything that the other students get. And then they will get also resource cards from their resource teacher. Probably they won't have anything. Well, they will have the first week. Our special education teachers will be doing some social emotional stuff. And then they're going to kind of get to know them a little bit the first week. Or if they already had them last year, they'll be designing cards specifically for those students, what those students need. Same with intervention students. Those students will have be assigned to a general class and have an intervention teacher giving them cards. So they will get both. So I don't know if somebody wants to talk about the middle school, high school, what that'll look like.
And to that, the middle school is set up so that when your student logs on, they'll be looking for the last name of the teacher. So if you're in a class that has two teachers, like a general ed teacher and an interventionist, that person will be added to the general ed teacher's class. So you'll see those two teachers on there. So you'll just be able to follow your schedule and sort of add those classes by each teacher by their last name.
And I think depending on IEPs too, if a student maybe has the accommodation of reduced assignments, maybe there's an understanding between their resource teacher and their general ed teacher that they're not going to complete a certain part of the task card. And that will just be something that the teachers will work out, just like they always have in the past.
And I know, at least from 8th grade perspective, that as we start going, our resource room teacher, she's going to create a class for her students. They're not going to have different assignments, but what she'll do is she will take the cards from her other teachers that she works with, and she'll modify those cards for her specific students. So let's say if I'm in like a co-taught reading class, I would get a card from Mrs. Erlot that would explain what the assignment is for the day. And then I would have a card for Mrs. Dams that would say, okay, so now you saw that, but what I expect you to do is this. And she would give them, kind of a change of what they were supposed to do. So they've been working really hard. They always do a really good job of working with our regular ed teachers to modify assignments and do those things that our, our kids in our resource rooms and stuff like that need. And it will be no different for our kids that are virtual. They will be doing that same stuff with them. Mrs. Kotenko, do you want to talk about those few things?
Absolutely. Communication between families, students, and the teacher, it's going to be a huge part this year. I know I have a child that's in a different school district, so it's really important that I understand how to get a hold of them, because I can't just call the next building. So the first mode that's the most important is have your students learn how to use their email. When you want to email your teacher, which is usually, if you're a distance learner, the first thing that you want to do, it's very easy to just type in the first couple letters of their last name, and it should pop right up when you're typing who it's to. So email first choice is a great way to do it. Like Mr. Delmatter said, we're all teaching all day. If our phone rings, we're not usually able to get to it right away. An email we can pop in when we have 5 minutes and take care of that. Google Meet and Zoom are two that I think a lot of us are already familiar with. If your student doesn't know how to manage those, or if you're unsure, it might be a good time to practice that. Each teacher is going to probably be using something a little bit different. We're not district-wide all using Meet. Some are using Zoom. They're very user-friendly. So if you're able to, if your question can't be answered by email, it might be a good idea to set up an appointment or to know your teacher's office hours. Some teachers are going to have office hours where they have an open Zoom meeting, and you can just pop in and have a virtual conversation with them. So each teacher will be communicating that out to your families so that you can know exactly how they're going to handle things. And the last one, I think a lot of people in my building are going to be using the Remind app. So if you're familiar with that, it can be used on your computer. It can be used on the iPad. It can be used on your phone. And it acts as a text version for sending out reminders. You can also, it's a two-way communication. So you could text back to your teacher and ask a question. And when they have that extra moment, they can text an answer back to you. So that's a super, super easy way, I know, in this day and age when everything is text, that we can stay in contact. Did I miss anything?
No, that was great.
Okay.
I guess, can I just talk about the high school perspective real quick?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so for the high school teachers, we talked through it, and as a staff, we've decided our office hours are going to be kind of by appointment. So we don't want to waste anyone's time having students trying to get hold of us. If we're running down to make some copies real quick and you're sitting on a Google Meet or whatever. So if a student wants to reach out to any of our teachers, because they'll have 6 teachers and they might have to talk with 2 or 3 of them in the course of the day. again, use that email and send your teacher an email. Ask when is a good time. Find a time that works for both of you. Just that way we can connect. From 2 o'clock to 3:30, we've got a block of time after that first week, and we should have we should be able to answer those questions then. One other thing I wanted to touch base on before we forgot about it were assessments. And with students being remote, assessments will look a little different this year. It's not going to be a standard, here's 5 multiple choice or anything like that. A lot of our assessments will end up being much more open-ended and explain what you've learned through this content or through this unit, instead of just here, fill in the blank. And then with that being said, and I don't know if this is publicly broadcasted yet, but I'll say it anyways. The high school staff in our meetings, as we were discussing final exams, there will not be high school final exams this year. Just with virtual learners, it's too hard to have a assessment that is secure. So we won't have final exams except in the case where a student would need to take the final in order to pass the class. If that's the case, that'll be a in-person only situation.
Mandy, did you want to touch on that real quick with that email perspective and communication piece? Because that's way different for your kids than it is for middle school and high school.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of parents probably don't even realize that their students at this level have an email address. And so it's the same as their login to Maven, that Google or that ID number at grantps.net and then their password. So they can get used to using that, or you can use your own email to get a hold of us. But yeah, it'll be really, email is still, it's the best way because we can check it throughout the day. Anything that's urgent for like end of the day stuff or anything that you need, like school questions, the office is your best bet. And then we'll have your individual teachers will let you know what they want to do. We've done a lot of like Seesaw and stuff in the past. We're kind of getting away from that now because we've got this Maven platform and kind of moving into Google Classroom. And so we'll be able to message back and forth on there as well.
Okay. I guess unless any more questions come up, I just want to say this last piece right here. I'm excited that we're all united, the middle school, high school, PC and L, we're all united in using this platform. It's going to be much easier for you as parents to learn how to use Maven and Google Classroom to do this stuff. And I know it's kind of daunting because we talk about these things like email, we talk about using Classroom, and we talk about things like creating videos and links to pictures and stuff like that your students going to have to do to turn in work. We will be in the first 2 weeks of school at least really working hard to train your students on how to do that stuff. We're not going to ask them to, day one, virtual learners, please send me a video of yourself, telling me your name and what grade you're in and that sort of stuff. We're going to work with them, train them how to use all of the technology that we're expecting. And then in turn, they can kind of share that stuff with you so you guys know how to do those things. So unless there's more questions.
I would wait just a minute before we shut down, but if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A or in the chat, or you can reach out to your child's individual teacher. I know there are a few questions about specific accommodations possibly for students, and I would just recommend if you do have a student who has a IEP or a 504, reach out to their classroom teacher or to their special ed caseload teachers and just start that conversation now on how to make sure that those accommodations are met. And work with them. We're all in this together, and we need all the brain power we can get sometimes just to figure out solutions.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, when is the SAT?
Oh, go ahead.
When is the SAT? The SAT for the juniors last year will be offered, I don't remember the exact date, but late September. If you were a junior this last year, you'll take it in late September as a senior, and then the juniors will still take it in the spring.
One thing that I just noticed in the chat that I think some people are confused about is Maven does not require any app at all. It's all web-based. So any device that you're on, even if a student isn't on their personal device, you don't have to download anything for it. They just need to get onto a web browser. Chrome is by far the best in this situation, but they can get on any web browser and see that stuff. So, you know, obviously there are students going back and forth between homes and stuff like that. If they don't take their device with them, they can get on any device, they can get on any phone, and they can see Maven from basically anywhere. So that's one of the other reasons we really like this platform.
So there's a question, a couple people are asking about, they're having trouble getting their iPads to connect to the Wi-Fi. Who should they contact?
That would be a John Williams question. For your home Wi-Fi, that would be, yeah, John Williams. They're going to add a link on the website for you to do work orders. So you'll be able to go in there if you're having issues like that. You can post it in there, and then they'll know who it is and how they can help you.
I think on the school website, there's also a hotline number that they've set up for the tech department. If they haven't set it up yet, they're going to.
Yep.
But if you call the main district office, they'll connect you with one of the tech people, and they'll be able to help as well,
Yep.
just in the interim until they get that system set up.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you being here tonight. We know, you know, that time is precious right now, and we really do want to make sure everybody understands what this is about and what we're doing. So like Mike said, please reach out to your teachers, your students' teachers, and ask for help when you need it. It's a learning process for us as well. And, you know, these people on the call right now know there are times when I don't know the answer and they may come up with it. And there may be times when you guys have a suggestion about the platform that we haven't thought of, and, you know, we can work in making those changes with it. So we appreciate you being here. And
just real quick, one of the parents, thank you, sent the site. I just put it in the chat. So if you need that, there is the Maven support technology help desk, and everything is online apparently.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you. Okay. Unless someone else has a question, we're going to say good night and go Tigers.